I mean, hello, am I back in the room? Oh, I may have been, like, had my microphone off throughout that whole thing anyway. Boo. Oh, wow, it's funny. Last week it was my video drivers. This week, apparently, my keyboard decided that life in general was too difficult. So, hello, welcome to my stream. What's the best way to kind of refer to you? Because you've got some fabulous Japanese lettering, but then you've got Haig Heigman. Haig Heigman? Did I get that about right? But welcome to my stream, and I spend my streams drawing the comic book that I have written. This is page 30, so I appreciate you be jumping in. Bald mustache man, amazing. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. So yes, this is page 30. So you're jumping in at sort of towards the end of issue 1 of the comic that I've written, and basically it's sort of the wrap up of the scene. So the character with the little gold wings, which I appreciate might look a bit teeny tiny, particularly if you're watching this on the phone, but this character up here is kind of getting up to leave. And that's what I'm aiming to illustrate today, is kind of try and get this page at least with the flats. So if I don't know if you're familiar with how comic books are created, but flats are the sort of the base colours that someone will pop down just to make sure that they look right. It's before you add any lighting effects, and throughout most of my comic, with the exception of 1 or 2 pages, all I have done is put the flats down, and then when I finish doing that, I'll start to go through the comic and put the lighting sort of effects in, which just will be like gradients and darks and lights and all that sort of stuff that will sort of shine on. So this is the top pane. There are speech bubbles that will sit on top of this, but I have, and I'll put one in here, you can see this one is humongous. That is a humongous speech bubble, so I'll be breaking them down and relettering this comic at some point in the near future, but for now I just want to focus on getting the artwork finished. So just when my keyboard decided that life wasn't worth living, oh, that's better. And it did require me to reboot my whole machine to get it going, is because I have learnt from past sort of like atrocities when it comes to this comic, is that if I don't label my layers, I never find them again, and it takes me like 15 minutes to work out which layer it's, whatever it is I'm working on is kind of on. So yeah, that is, so the aim of today is to get the flats done on this particular thing, and you know, it's a 3-hour stream-ish, so I might even get to doing some of the shading bits, or I might start the next page. We'll see how we go. Oh, and a nice cup of tea to kind of fuel me through it. Okay, so I want these bags to be like a I think that's going to be the coat rack, which I'm pretty sure I want that to be black. So if we zoom in just so I can see what I'm doing. The nice thing with this being black is I don't necessarily have to stick to the original lines I drew, just because it's the same colour as the lines. So I can have a bit of a play with it, which is nice. Okay, I want it to be sort of like vaguely wrought ironish, because the kind of nightclub that this scene's taking place in, I want it to be sort of like a gothy rocky nightclub. I can imagine a lot of things like their tables, chairs and coat racks will be black. What I want to do is, because I think they would be black metal, let's put some highlights and stuff on it, but I will do that after. Because at the moment nothing has a shadow, it's why everything looks a little bit like it's floating above. Because until you put things like shadows down, doesn't really place the object. Your brain can't quite process it. It's like, ooh, it doesn't cast a shadow. Vampire. Okay. Much better. Right, pick that. And add a glow effect. Small enough. It's making it look a bit more 3D, doesn't it? So that's the coat rack, and then we're going to do the tool bags. Fair enough. It needs to be various shades of grey, I think. So, lovely bald moustache man, do you have favourite comics that you like to read, or comic themed movies, or anything like that? Oh wow, how exciting! Oh, please tell me more all about. I love hearing. Oh, well, that's okay. You don't need a background in reading comics to enjoy any kind of comic, and manga definitely classes as a comic kind. But tell me more about the comic that you're drawing. I'd love to hear. I love hearing about other people's projects. It motivates me to get on with my own. And is it one that you've written yourself, or is it one that someone else has, like you've got a friend that's written it and then you're drawing the artwork for? Ooh, that's a similar premise to mine. That's really cool. And I know how hard it is, having written this one and then coming on to draw it. Ooh, she says not concentrating and making a bit of a mess. I know how challenging that is, so well done you. What are you using to draw it? Are you going down the some mine? Oh, right. Let me as you're new to the thing, let me open up so you can see this is where my comic lives in my files. I am also using Clip Studio. Nice. So I'll open up the cover art. So this is kind of the Spotify, off you go. So my comic is called Knave of Hearts. Let's make it a bit bigger for you. Ooh, too big. Why can you not just be subtle, Clip Studio? In fact, let's go to my up close. So yeah, so this is the front cover. So my comic's called Knave of Hearts, and it's all about a band called Esoterica, who are a real band who I have had the privilege of meeting. They do progressive rock, or ethereal rock, I guess would be another way of saying it. And it's basically the story of the band. They are sort of touched by supernatural events that interfere with all of their gigs, make producing music very difficult. And they call upon a friend, and it transpires that the way that they think heaven and hell, or how people think heaven and hell work, isn't how it works. There's no heaven, there's no hell. There's like upper management. There is housekeeping, which sort of deal with the day-to-day stuff, and then there is facilities that kind of operate below decks, like so there's a big kitchen that kind of produces everything that is a material being type thing. And anyway, the balance has been upset. Facilities aren't very happy with management, and they've decided to cause some problems with the mortal planes in order to kind of get management to sit up and take notice. So that's the kind of the general premise, and you follow the band as they try and fix this sort of imbalance and try and get their lives back to normal so that they can carry on doing gigs and stuff. So that's kind of the premise of my comic, and I've written the first 3 issues. I'd say the first 2 are properly nailed down. The 3rd issue needs a bit of work, but it takes me around about 15 hours ish to finish each page, or I think it's going to take about that once I've sort of done the flats and then put the lighting effects in and all that sort of stuff. So I reckon I've probably got the best part of a year before issue 1 is done, and then I'll immediately start issue 2. And then yeah, so I'm trying to push out, because it's just little old me, an issue a year, and each issue is going to be about 30 pages long. But yeah, the more I do it, yeah, I know. Oh my god, it's a lot of work, but that's okay. That's why I have my Sunday streams, because I get to chat with people whilst I'm doing it, so I don't go mad. But fitting it around jobs and stuff, yeah, just because people kept asking me when it was coming out, and I was like, okay, I need to just sort of try and work out how long it's going to take me to do this, and I'd say 15 to 20 hours is probably a fastish page. It might even be a little bit more for some of them, but it means that when people go, when's the comic coming out, because they do, bless them, they do ask, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna have to wait a while. Plus I'm the publisher, and I've given myself a really long deadline to do this around my full-time job and parenting and gardening and playing the piano badly. So other things that and gaming. I'm a big video gamer. But yeah, it is worth, even if you just do it once, and then at least you kind of know roughly how long these things take. Ooh, interesting. I've just realised that I think my mic is going on this screen, but not my music. Oh, sneaky McBeaky. Let's fix that. Come to me. Can't have no music, you guys will get bored. Audio output, yes please. Add source, there we go. The music is back on. So you say that your manga is about a bunch of characters going to different worlds. Could you elaborate? I said I love hearing other people's stories, and kind of, I love stories. It's the whole reason I love comics, is I love, it's like art and storytelling combined, which is brilliant. Oh, whilst I drink my tea, whilst it's still warm. Although it's lovely and sunny today, it's a bit chilly around in my little studio area. Only if you don't mind. If you'd rather I wait until it's published and then purchase it, like, you know, a good little person, I'm okay with that too. Oh, that's better. Toasty warm now. Well, I take it you're self-publishing, so that means that you've got the freedom to sort of do it however you like, I guess. And you don't have to put too much pressure on yourself then. Yeah, I would like that. Have you got an Instagram? Or do you stream as well? Ah, that's fabulous. Yes, let me pull up the magical mini Sarah device and just close down the many tabs that I leave open because I have an untidy mind and an untidy phone. Nope. Let's go into Twitch. Ah, you're streaming it. Fabulous. Right, let me find you and I will follow you, and then I will come and watch you if I'm around. Are you UK based or are you somewhere far more exotic? I'm just thinking if there's a time difference to make sure I'm awake. But let's find you. Following, nope. Search, and you are... H-A-G-E. Ooh, is that you there? Oh, where's my camera gone? Oh, you live in Japan. That's so exciting. Oh wow, look at your stuff. That's fab. Amazing. I'll just send you a hiya, see that it's me. Oh wow, you're streaming right now. Oh, you're welcome. And I will just do a little happy little, ooh, a harlequin. There we go. You're very welcome. Well, like, you know, us comic book artists and writers and comic book anything really should definitely help support one another, shouldn't we? Oh, so it's amazing how you're sort of watching me at the same time as streaming live. That's impressive. I can barely stream and draw at the same time. Very impressive. Yeah, like, you know, I think the time difference between us and Japan, I used to work with somebody that lived in Japan, and yeah, I think this is very late for you, isn't it? It's been a while since I've had to figure out the time differences for that stuff, but kudos. Doing the same thing. Wow, look at those wings you're drawing. That's fab. I want to make it bigger, but my phone has decided to go. There we go. Come on, make it bigger. Wow. Nice. So I might not say much in your stream, just because as I said, I struggle with just the drawing and the streaming at the same time. Drawing, streaming, talking in another stream, my brain might actually sort of turn to putty and flow out my ear. But I'm just saying. But now I am loving your the way you've drawn the sort of the eagle wings. Sorry, obviously I don't know what's going on this particular scene. Yeah, that is very cool. It's really gorgeous line work. I like that a lot. I will leave it running whilst I'm doing mine. He stole them from death. Oh wow. Gosh. So yours is kind of, has that kind of, because Death is a character of mine as well. A tiger monster has crippled him and he is hiding inside them, but she is ripping it to shreds. And is the tiger the monster thing with the sort of back kind of wings? Die or die. That's very cool. See, in mine, because it's kind of heaven and hell is like in a. So I've sort of explained it like in a corporate, but it all takes place. Oh yeah. I think my internet may be going, ooh, streaming while streaming and doing a stream. Oh, maybe not today, sunshine. So if I drop off your stream, it's because my phone is doing a little spinny circly thing at the moment. But mine, the universe is kind of set in a hotel setting, so Death is the doorman. I thought that was quite clever anyway. So, you know, sort of welcoming people in, helping them leave, kicking them out the universe, basically. Oh wow, look at that. That's very impressive. Just zooming in a little bit. Oh, you've drawn that hand really well as well. I know how tricky hands are. Hands are my nemesis. Very welcome. How long have you been drawing comics for? Oh wow, so you've not been going for very long and you're already drawing at that level. That's really impressive. Yeah, and certainly on the panel on the right, the sort of the sequences you've got. I like the sort of double window thing. Kind of tempted by that. Instead I tend to just have them on the the next page and just kind of flick, which probably isn't ideal. Oh, and one thing, I need to have that open for the colour palette. And I need to have that also open for the colour palette. I do not want to save it. If I have made changes to that, it was in error. I don't think. Okay. There we go. Didn't colour that in. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, well, I started out, and in fact I've got the sketchbook behind me because I started this comic traditionally. So all the pages are in here. So I would just kind of have to flick. I think my day lamp is making that look a little bit impossible to see, but that's kind of how I started mine. And so for the first 20 or so pages, I just have to flick to the relevant page to kind of see what was going on. But I switched to digital at about Christmas time. And yeah, having the option of having like the page before up on the other screens and stuff, or just being able to very quickly flick to them, it's been very helpful. I've enjoyed that. And then you turn the page, bam, something beautiful. I know, it's the magic of comics, isn't it? I do love that about comics. The lead in. I'm going to come hang his trouser legs. Oh no. One job, Sarah. Very interesting. Okay, right, you need to come all the way back here, mister. Better. No, not that far. Okay. Oh wow. So I just noticed that you flick to your next page and look at that. Yeah, no worries. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Oh, I see. Oh, so these are kind of your concept pages. Ah, very good. After she loses her heart. I'm really liking the premise of this. Oh, the cat's come to join me. I'm coming up, Cooper. Or are you not bothered? Cooper, come here, buddy. I'm gonna interrupt the stream. You gotta go and show your face. Oh, he's run off. You know, he's a bit camera shy. Oh, but you jokingly adorable bat wings. I do love bat wings. Ah, I see. I like it when you get that where you sort of an incidental character. Ooh, no, I did not mean to do that. Overexcited. Where did I put those tool bags? There they are. Sneaky. Sneaky tool bags. Okay. That's very cool. Okay, much better.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice messaging system. Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5.
Crush thy pills and sniff thy drugs. Blood might spill, but I guess it's love. Instead of an episode, it's better to let her know that you wanna let her grow so you can set the tone. It's sad why I'm tripping, so act right. That's pitiful. That's why
I was expecting to do.
like
Don't do that.
to the bad guy, individual. The black side is invisible, but black eyes are visible. That guy'll slit his throat. I'm surprised that all this time you stayed by my side. You're so blind, it's not love that's in your heart. We had a bad start. Every fight we have is like
Yeah,
a ticking bomb.
perfect.
Even though sometimes we laugh, it's still a tricky part to let go of the past, cause all that we done. But then you light the match and then it blows up. So why the are we ever gonna fix things? Our entire history is fucking sickening.
Sounds alright for not scrolling up.
Things up or bring things up, but I gotta let it out, so I'ma sing this hook. I'm surprised that all this time you stayed by my side.
Much tidier.
You're so blind, it's not love that's in your heart. We had a bad start.
Grab this one, and then we are going to have some silver candlesticks. No, we're going to have some gold candlesticks, I think, as a nod to. Find turn the right tool on, no, to elsewhere in the comic, which is full of these sort of decadent things. That will probably help if. Is this the line work there? Let's change that name to line work. Much better. Nope, 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 don't do it on that there, Sarah. Do it on the layer below. So that's the candlestick. Let's get that going. Let's have our colour going. Let's get this candle done. Then, if I've done this right, then white, fairly big, bigger than that. Too small. no, I've missed a bit. Right, where's the leather layer? Okay, I think we can start to introduce some shade and bits now. Always the bit I both love and I hate because it's so easy to get wrong, but if you get it right, it can sort of make or break a piece really. I'm feeling much happier about this. do need to add the texture brush, which I think is this one. Where's leathering? Overexcited at that bit. Only thing left on her now is the little clock face, which I think that'll do. I need to do her cloak. Ah, fab. What sort of things did you draw before you got into comics? And that's okay, except my stream is very chilled. You can dip in and out whilst you do other things. Portraits and naughty drawings on bathroom stools. Oh, well, obviously I can't officially condone that, but that's very funny. Very funny. Sketch triple. Let's have a look. I'm not new to Twitter, just wow. They look like angry wrestlers. Is that accurate? Angry wrestlers? I'll admit I don't know much about that area, but that looks fabby dabby. sneaky layer, and I want to know which layer it is. Not that one, not that one, not that one. Ooh, ooh. Hello, I did it on the alignment there. That's very silly of me. There we go. That makes more sense. And bikini babes. I don't know why my first thought was wrestlers in bikinis. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, my thing was always drawing like angels and fairies. Big fairy drawer. So I used to draw comics, but just like one-page strips. So this is the first time I've attempted like a whole book type thing. But yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it? Well, up until I'd finished the cover, it was just about trying to get art that conveyed the story. I sort of was a bit flippant about how good the quality of art was. So it would, and in fact, one of the pages, I'll bring one up, so page 14 of my comic, which is definitely one, so this is page 14. And I drew it traditionally and then took a photo of it and kind of tried to clean it up digitally, and it didn't work. And this is kind of the zhuzhed up version, but this was definitely an example of I just wanted to get going on the story. So the art quality is not great, the picture quality is not great. You know, the shadows that are going on under the table look a bit weird. So it was more slapdash. It was very kind of just dump the artwork on, let the story tell itself. Dump the artwork on, let the story tell itself. But this page haunted my nightmares. So yeah, so initially it was just kind of get it down. But now that I've had more experience, because I've drawn all of these pages, I have, for example, I've already sort of storyboarded and replotted page 14. Because I just couldn't I couldn't cope with the quality I'd drawn. I thought it was awful, atrocious, and I wasn't happy for it to go out. Like, you know, I kind of want, when, because I'm gonna obviously self-publish this, and I kind of want it to be that the people that read it, like, almost like devour each panel. That it's kind of, there's little details in each that they can kind of get lost in if they want to. I like that idea, and having read sort of a lot more comics recently, sort of, yeah, try it, like, I mean, there's obviously a limit, just like for time wise, but there's kind of it's trying to find that sweet spot of, I'm happy with this page, It's not perfect, because it will never be perfect, because I'm one of those people that will constantly pick at what I've drawn. It conveys what I'm trying to say, and it you know, it's for what I'm trying to do, it achieves its purpose. And I've been reading a lot of Neil Gaiman's comics recently, and particularly I've just got the Death anthology that he wrote, and looking at the artwork in there has really helped, because you can see there are some panels where they're very like the actual artwork is very simple, but it tells the story well, and it's kind of, I used to be a style over substance, and I'm trying to be more substance over style when it comes to my comic stuff, which is a real challenge for me, because A, I don't know what I'm doing, and B, I like making things pretty. And sometimes I'm so focused on making them pretty, they don't tell the story. Yeah, style over substance. And it doesn't matter if you're doing comics or just, like, you know, a piece. It's knowing when to walk away, because there's nothing worse than spending hours and hours and hours, and then you realise you've overworked it. And I mean, if you've done it digitally, there's an element of you probably could click the undo button 1,000 times, but certainly with traditional artwork, you don't have that luxury. If you've overworked it, that's it. Gonna go in the bin or have a little bonfire. So yeah, so I'm trying to be kind to myself as I write this comic, and I've got lots of people to read it, because I sort of printed out the storyboard version of it, and people can follow the story, which is great. Like, you know, it makes sense, and the artwork supports the story well-ish. But yeah, one of the things I'm going to do is, once I've drawn the whole, so I've storyboarded the whole issue, I've line worked to some degree, or I thought I had until I got to this point, the whole issue. Then I was going to go back and colour the whole issue, but I'm letting myself kind of, if I want to dip in and out, I can dip in and out. So for this one, I'm working the page sort of systematically, so one panel at a time. But, you know, I've got splash pages that I've done that don't relate to anything yet, and are fully coloured up and sort of ready to rock. And yet I've got other pages that, actually I have to close that, I hate it so much. I've got other pages that are still in this kind of thing, but the book is, as it sits, has been written and has been drawn. It's just now going back and being prepared to kind of rip up the odd page, so that I can use what I've learned later on in the comic back at the start. And sometimes just kind of honouring what I've already done. And it is like, each page is different. Some pages I open it up and I go, this is better than I remember it being drawn. I want to try and retain as much as possible of my original artwork, but I have the added challenge of, because I started it traditionally, and so all of my early pages, so and I don't know how well you can see on here, but everything up to here, this one here, they were all traditionally drawn initially, and that means that when I originally open up the file, it's a flat file, so I'm having to redo the line work over the top so that I can then drop colour behind it, which I'm sure there's probably cleverer ways of doing it, but this is my method. But it's allowing me to kind of revisit my original line work and kind of go over it again, and it's how I know that there are some pages that I've drawn in this where I've not put enough panels in, or it just doesn't look quite right. I need to get my little sticky mitts back in there and redraw it, and maybe one page becomes 2 pages. Like, there is definitely, so page 17, there is a moment that I could have captured in my artwork that I didn't, and I'm kicking myself. So it might be that page 17 turns into pages 17 and pages 18, and I just need to shift all the page numbers along. But it's my comic, so that's one of the nice things about self-publishing. So I'm seeing it as positive. Yes, it might mean more work, but I call the shots. I'm in charge. But I'm really glad I basically drew out the whole comic before I started, because it means I can now start doing that editing process as I'm going back and making and colouring, whatever, when I go back in and do that. So that's kind of my method at the moment. But I think, again, it's because I didn't have a graphics tablet when I started the comic. That was a Christmas gift, and by Christmas I'd drawn 22 pages of this comic already, traditionally. So yeah, so I think for the next issue it will be, I will storyboard the whole comic, so all the pages will look like this one, like proper scribbles with just like little T's so I can work out where the faces go and whatnot. So this will be kind of this is actually probably, it was originally page 33 of issue 1. I think it's now probably going to be page 1 of issue 2. And yeah, I want the whole, before I kind of get stuck into the nitty gritty of the art, I want to storyboard the whole thing and make sure my composition's alright, because it's the other thing I haven't really appreciated was how important composition was to comic book art, because you've got speech bubbles to think about. And one of the reasons that in some of the, well, even in this particular one, that this speech bubble is so massive is when I originally drew this, I didn't put any detail in the page, in the artwork. So I kind of, because I'm lazy, I'm very lazy, I was like, I need to cover up as much of the panel as possible with a big speech bubble so I don't have to draw it. And actually I think that's incorrect, that is not the correct attitude to have when you're doing this stuff. So that's why I know I need to go back and re-speech bubble and re-letter everything, so it kind of fits more in this negative space area here. But it's kind of art before lettering, and understanding that I need to allow space in the artwork for speech bubbles, but the speech bubbles don't own the page in the same way that I think I probably thought they would. But yeah, that's kind of, yeah, that's my current sort of challenge, if you like, is revisiting all the pages, particularly, so I've got this page and the next page, which is, so that's what I'm working on, that's the original page 30, page 31 and page, is it going to let me do this, page 32, no, page 31, 32, so these are the sort of the next 2 pages, and you can see that they're all sort of part storyboarded, and actually I adjusted, this panel was very different but didn't sort of fit. So yeah, so these are kind of my last 2 pages that need proper-ish line work done. So I've started to clean up the line work a little bit, but they need some assistance. And once I finished page 30, 31 and 32, that's the story line work done, and I need to start coming back to these original hand-drawn pages. So this is just a photograph of my hand-drawn artwork, and I need to come back in here and I need to reline work it and then drop the colour in underneath, and I might tweak these as I go, but that's sort of, yeah, that's my method. Is that sort of, are you sort of are traditional, always have been traditional, or do you do some of this digital, have you always been digital and will remain digital, and or do you do some stuff traditionally? That's what I'm trying to ask. Are you a mixed media artist? There we go. Managed to get it out there in the end. Let's close these suckers down. I'll leave those 2 open, they're kind of useful. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. My traditional work, I am very, very slow. I mean, I do like the sort of the tactile feeling of traditional artwork. Like, you know, you've got your pen, and when you do the thing, you can kind of see the ink, and there's a tactile kind of mud pie playing kind of thing going on there. But yeah, I am much slower because you don't have an undo button. It's not like, oh, went out the lines. Yes, it is very expensive buying lots of sketchbooks. And then if you do want to convert it to digital, getting the camera and all that sort of stuff, and then the space as well. I think I'm lucky. I've got like a little cupboard that kind of has all my stuff. Yeah. It's like, where am I going to put it all? Well, I know a lot of people use what they called the marker pens, but apparently they don't age very well because they are a dye rather than an ink. I don't know if you've heard of a lady called Colleen Doran, but she's a very well-known comic book artist, and she was sort of saying why she'd never buy Copic markers and stuff, and it is because they don't last. So they'll look really nice when you first do them. But yeah, keep a reason to spend so much on this project. Digital product is one and done. Yeah, exactly. Particularly if you're using something like Clip Studio where you kind of buy it outright. Layer I'm drawing this on. That's a bit worrying, isn't it? Oh well. I really shouldn't rely on so many layers anyway. accidentally drawn Little Red Riding Hood. That was not on purpose. Stretch time. My hair is doing its own thing. What are you working on now then, Hey Heigerman? Oh, so is yours going to be a black and white? Oh, of course, most manga is black and white, isn't it? Yeah, tough. Yeah. I do know that Clip Studio's got some good material, like things that when I still thought this was going to be black and white that I was going to use. Yeah. Wow, 300 pages. So how far in have you managed to draw? That's mad. That would take me literally years just to draw one. Like these people that can sort of biff one out in a 6 months sort of period, I don't know how they do it. We're approaching the point where I can't keep drawing this same page. I need to move to a different page before I lose the will to live. I did want to do some work on this page because I didn't think it was looking particularly strong. Okay, better than I remember. I was doing some work on the line work on this page, I think. Yeah. Oh, you can see how it's... Oh dear, look at the state of that. What a mess. Oh, 11. Oh, so only another 289 to go. Bless you. It's not as bad as I thought, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to tackle that background unless I just leave it that it is a black room. There was another page that I wasn't particularly keen on. I think this one needed a lot of work. Oof, yes it did. Now there should be a new line work layer. Apparently not. Favourite game. Which layer are you? Let's call this new line work. There. I think that might be me done for today. I am running out of puff. But I'm really pleased with the bits and bobs that I've done. So I've like updated a couple of pages. I've improved the line work, I think, especially on poor old Matt, who was looking a little bit odd down in the bottom left hand corner. Let's just close some of these. I didn't pick that one up. Probably will still go back and revisit that page at some point, but not today. Save that. I thought I had saved that one. Yes, save that one. And I'm really pleased with that top panel of this comic, which if I click on it, which I think then highlights it. I think that's looking pretty good. I'm pleased. So thank you very much for joining me today. And if you're watching on YouTube or one of my like past video thingies, lovely to meet you. And if you want to support my comic, I have a Patreon, which is there on this screen, or if I go back to my drawing screen, is down at the bottom, as is my Instagram. If you want to check me out there, I do sort of post periodically, particularly when I've finished a page. I will try and post them to, or at least sections of the page, to Instagram. But if you want the full shamoli and see everything, Patreon is the place to go. You can actually read the comic so far. So it has been a delight as always. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and